Shelton Sampson, 5-star wide receiver from Catholic High, decides he is going to stay home and play for the good guys. That was big news, Mr. Hill. We like that.
Oh, yeah, we love that. I think that's a name that we were talking about that would put this recruiting class in. I think me and Taylor Sharp talked about this. I'm starting to pick up a little bias towards 247 right now because it seems like every time we get a big 5-star commit, they somehow magically lose that 5th star. But hey, that's another conversation for another day. I think for LSU, it was a big time get to get my boy Shelton to Baton Rouge. And to me, he's one of the best receivers in the country. And I think you pair him with Jaylen Brown. Now you got 2 receivers that you can kind of simulate it. I know this is blasphemous, but I know what they're trying to do here. They're trying to simulate a little Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And I think you get 2 receivers at that level. I think you could come pretty close to that. So that's a big gift for LSU. And yeah, it looks like Coach Kelly's not really struggling too much recruiting the state. I don't know.
You can flip on over to 1-3. It makes you feel better. He's a 5-star over at 1-3, 6'3.5", 190 pounds. The reports are that his speed is around the 4.4 range. I cringe a little bit, quite honestly, when I hear about these high school kids that run 4.3s, and then you turn the NFL Combine on and like none of them run 4.3s. Like those guys are about to play in the league. You're still taking American history in high school. Like it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of speed in a long, lean frame, and he's got great ability to jump and go vertical and make plays in traffic. So the obvious comp that everybody's going to bring is Terrace Marshall, and there's a lot of similarities there to their game. Hopefully he's as productive as Terrace was in his time here in Baton Rouge. But big get for LSU as Alabama was very much in the mix. Florida State came in. Texas A&M was considered a factor at a certain point. Auburn. But LSU keeps Shelton Sampson home, which is a huge, huge get. And look, it's a big deal to get a guy like that in your class. It's also a big deal to players who are looking at where they want to play. And if you continue, to get players from your state, you continue to have guys that are in the state want to be a part of that. If you have everybody go out, it's easier to go out of state when everybody else is going out of state. But if you keep these key guys in there that they were seriously in the mix on. They weren't in the mix for Arch Manning. They weren't in the mix for Eli Holstein. I mean, they weren't in the mix for Jaden Osbury. But the guys that you're prioritizing, the guys you want, Shelton Sampson certainly is that. We understand now that there's going to be an announcement date coming up here in a couple of days for Ricky Collins, 4-star quarterback from right here in Baton Rouge as well. I think all of us would be shocked if he didn't pick LSU.
Look, I saw him getting interviewed the other day, and he just couldn't keep the smile off of his face. And to me, that was a huge tell. Anytime LSU got brought up, he had a huge smile. So I haven't heard anything, but all signs are pointing to, Ricky Collins committing to LSU. And I think getting a recruiting class, getting a quarterback in each recruiting cycle, I think nowadays it's extremely important. And I get the other side of that. You can just go get a guy in the portal. But to me, you want guys in your program that you can develop and teach the offense to and really be a part of everything you're trying to build. And so you do that with bringing in freshmen. And so I think for me, getting a freshman in this recruiting cycle, because I think one of these quarterbacks are going to be extremely unhappy with the decision that's going to be made here in a couple weeks. So you're probably going to be losing one of these guys. So I think getting a guy like that would be huge for LSU.
4-star safety Kylan Jackson is going to decide between LSU and Texas A&M coming up on Saturday. He's going to make his announcement. And so immediately when I saw that he was supposed to commit this week and then he pushed it back, I ran over to TexAgs to see what I could find because, I mean, those guys are just as plugged in as anybody in the nation with the team that they cover because of the relationship they've got with that football program. No significant smoke on TexAgs of note. So it feels like everything's still okay on the home front and that LSU's going to get Kylan Jackson. That would be another really, really nice pull.
Yeah, anytime you lose a really top-tier safety to Texas, you got to go get the next best guy, and I think Kylan is definitely the next best guy. So it's going to me, help that defensive back room out a ton, who I think still needs a lot of help. Even looking out at practice the other day, you take those transfer portal guys out. There's just not many guys around. And so I think all the defensive back help you can get, especially as freshmen, I think will be huge. So, yeah, getting Kylan will be a big gift for the Tigers.
If LSU could land these 2 guys from in-state over the next 5 days, you would be talking about 20 commitments and likely a top 5 class at this point. Right now, 1-3 has LSU as the number 6th ranked class in the country, and they're up to 18 commitments, and we figure there's a good chance they could get 2 more here to push them to 20. And now you no longer have to look inside the lens of the 25. It's just a matter of getting your scholarships where they need to be. So oftentimes you say, all right, well, that's kind of the end of the class. But at this point, you can take as many as you want. So we'll talk a little bit of recruiting as the week moves on. I know that there's a ton of value in getting high school guys in your program and developing them, but the game's changed a little bit, and you are going to leave spots on your roster to go fill it with older, proven players. So I'm curious just how many guys LSU will take in this class. The consensus with the recruiting guys that we've talked to in the past, somewhere between 22 and 23, 24. So that may be where they're kind of headed. But right now, sitting at 18 and looking good for this week.
No, it definitely is. And I think that's just night and day. Talk about a total 180 from where we were 2 months ago or a month and a half ago when you're sitting at 5 or 6 commitments outside of the top 10 in every recruiting site. To see the job that they've done in recruiting over the summer and really get this class to be a top 10 class in the country, I think is extremely impressive. When you haven't played a single game as this coaching staff has just got to this team this year. So I'm excited for what's coming ahead for LSU. I think Coach Kelly's done everything that you can ask of a head coach, especially looking at this recruiting class. So I think they're going to continue to do work recruiting-wise.
Your first recruiting class should be really – your first full one should be really good. Your first two, honestly. If you can't sell the dream there, you've probably got an issue on your hands. I thought it was really interesting – when you were out, we had a Florida State beat writer come on, and the worry in Tallahassee is that Mike Norvell hasn't really capitalized on those first two classes. You're always in that state jostling for position, and Florida and Miami were in transition and kind of in upheaval, and they just weren't on good footing, and he wasn't able to put together those dynamite classes you would like as the honeymoon phase is still in full effect. And Brian Kelly's now in that part. And so you've got to put together some really, really solid classes. It just turns out you're going to have to go a little bit outside of where we generally get that class from because the state had so many guys leaving for one reason or another. But at this point, you certainly feel a lot better than you did a month ago, and you should honestly feel pretty good about where this class is.
Oh, no, I definitely do. If there's any fans still complaining, I wanted you to get a test. Like, what's going on? Like, I mean, look at this class. Look at how it's turned around. I don't think I haven't heard much complaints like that. There was a little stretch there where everyone was kind of, barking and saying a bunch. But I think at this point in projecting what they're going to do, and then, like you said, you're not, married to that 25 number. If there's a 4-star or 5-star guy that you really fall in love with, or it's still making a decision on National Signing Day, there's a world where you can still go after that guy to the bitter end. So things are definitely looking great for Coach Kelly and what they've done in recruiting-wise. I think they're going to continue to do it.
There was such a juggling act there, and we've seen some guys get affected pretty heavily by it. I mean, like Elliot Porter wanted to come to LSU and ended up having to go to Kentucky because they ran out of room on the scholarship list. I mean, you that happens, and you've got guys that you're kind of saying, yeah, you can come if we miss out on this guy, and he's got 4 hats on the table, but hold on, don't sign there, like we might need you. And there was such a fine line you had to dance there, and now that that barrier's been broken through, which I think is a good thing. You just gotta find a home. I'm curious next year, and I'll certainly pay attention to this, what the class looks like in the middle of July. If it's again, you look up and we've still got 8 commitments and you just feel like the process has slowed down. Remember, we were talking about Alabama in the same breath as LSU. They're up to now 18 commitments, just like LSU is. Georgia was a little light. They have 18 commitments now, like LSU does. We saw some teams that were way up the recruiting rankings that have dipped down significantly. I think Northwestern was way up there at one point. They're now dropped down to 30 with their 20 commitments. But if everybody's got 6 guys and you've got 19, your class is going to look a little bit better than theirs. But everything seems to kind of equaled out, hit its equilibrium. And LSU now is sitting here at on 3 with the 6th best signing class in the country. And we hope they're going to get some good news here over the next couple of days. We'll have some guys to come on and talk about that know a little bit more about the recruiting side of things than we do, but we certainly wanted to pay attention to it. So huge get for LSU in Shelton Sampson.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor, hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. See you next time.